Welcome to the Leader's Mic, where bold voices shape better leadership. I'm your host, Letitia. If you're hungry to grow, lead with purpose, and level up your impact, you're in the right place. Hit that subscribe button because every week I'm bringing you real talk, practical insights, and the leadership boost you didn't know you needed. Let's get into it. But before we jump into today's conversation, let me just say life has been lifing. And I know it. I'm here with each and every one of y'all, and I'm praying for each and every one of y'all in this season. And instead of forcing myself to keep producing, because I felt like I was running on empty, I gave myself permission to pause. And for all of you who were waiting on this episode, it's here now. But this pause was feedback from me, feedback from my body, feedback from my spirit, just saying you need to slow down so you can show up fully, especially with all the things going on in life. So today we're closing out the feedback season with a recap because we learned so much and that deserves just a moment to reflect on. But before we dive in, if you've been following me this season, I want to hear from you. Most importantly, I want to know how it's going so far. What did you take away from this season? Just take a moment for me and leave me a comment or send me a DM on Instagram at The Leader's Mic. Let me know about your recent feedback experiences, whether you're the one giving the feedback or receiving the feedback. As I look back over the episodes, there were three themes, three of them, that really stood out to me. And the first one is feedback is information, not identity. Feedback is not meant to define who you are. Feedback is truly meant to be informational. We talked about the moment when feedback truly stings, and not because it's wrong, but because it hits that tender place where you probably know internally that there's something that needs to change and you're trying to put your finger on it. But when someone calls it out, it hits a tender spot. But we also learn how to sit with that instead of letting it define us. I, for one, know that is easier said than done. If I receive feedback, I have to truly prepare myself for that moment. Before and after the feedback, I ensure that after I receive feedback, I do not schedule any meetings because I want to be able to sit and process the information that I just received so that by the time I go into my next meeting or go to a next whatever it might be, I want to ensure that I'm mentally prepared for that. And I've taken what I needed to take from the conversation that I just had, that feedback conversation that I just had, so that I can move on. So just hear me say this. A comment about your communication style isn't a statement about your worth. It's not at all, but it's an opportunity for growth. That's the purpose of feedback. The purpose of feedback is to reveal opportunities, not flaws. And the second thing that we talked about were how patterns are greater than individual comments. We explored how one-off comments are less important than those repeated themes. So just think about this. If three people in three different ways say you seem overwhelmed, that's not criticism. You should be collecting that as data because obviously there's a pattern of behavior that's happening and you probably need to find a new way to prioritize. Think about it this way. If your team says you're supportive, but you're not always clear, don't take that as judgment. That right there is giving you guidance that in order to continue to lead this team where they need to go, your direction just needs to be a little bit more clear. And that's okay. That is totally fine. So diving deep into that, the takeaway here is that the moment you start looking for patterns, feedback stops becoming a personal thing, but more purposeful. The third, reflection before reaction. Kind of going back to the beginning of ensuring that it's not, like defining who you are. Making sure you reflect before you react is so important because sometimes The most mature thing that you can do after feedback is nothing. Don't rush to fix anything. Don't spiral out of control. Don't start trying to defend yourself. Just breathe, reflect, ask better questions. Get curious about what you're being told instead of getting caught up, because that reflection space is where growth actually happens. I've seen the spiral happen. I've spiraled before, and I can recall a time just receiving feedback and letting it just, I don't know, eat me up on the inside. And I started to think like, oh, I'm not good enough. And that imposter syndrome started to kick in, as if I am not meant for this job, all the things. But that's not true. When you receive feedback, you have to take a step back before reacting. Okay, so also this season, we learned something about ourselves. This season just didn't teach us about feedback. We learned that confidence isn't the absence of uncertainty. It's the courage to act anyway. We learned that leadership is often about unlearning old survival habits. And then also, growth requires self-awareness, but also self-compassion. And if I can be transparent, these last few weeks reminded me of something else. Sometimes the feedback your life gives you is louder than anything a manager or mentor can say. Your energy levels give you feedback. Your peace gives you feedback. Your stress gives you feedback. Your joy gives you feedback. And what I heard during this pause was you can't pour consistently when you don't pause intentionally. Take that. You cannot pour consistently when you don't pause intentionally. So if you've been feeling stretched, overwhelmed, or like life is happening faster than you can process, you're not alone. And you're not off track. You're just human. Because life right now is lifing. And that right there is feedback too. Now, originally, I planned to close this season with a full episode on the grow model. And listen, life had other plans, which is okay. But that's also a life lesson, right? We've talked about that already, because growth isn't always linear. It doesn't always follow the outline we create, the schedule we intend, or the perfect timing we imagine. Sometimes the real growth happens in the pivot. And in this moment, I'm adjusting, and that's okay. This season taught me, and maybe it taught you too, that growth is less about following a plan and more about staying connected to your purpose. It's about asking, what do I need right now? What is life showing me? How can I lead from where I am, not where I thought I would be? And that's the part of feedback people don't talk about enough. Feedback isn't just about improvement. It's about adaptation. It's learning to respond with intention instead of reacting with pressure. It's giving yourself permission to shift gears when you need to. And it's recognizing that not finishing something doesn't mean you failed. It means you're evolving. So instead of ending this season with a step-by-step model, we're ending it with something more meaningful. Clarity about who you are becoming. Compassion for the seasons you're living through. Courage to grow at your own pace. This isn't about checking off a framework. It's about choosing the next right step, when aligned with your capacity, your calling, and your current reality. That's what it means to grow forward. And I want to be honest. As much as I loved creating a season around feedback, I also felt a little boxed in. Like I had to stay within the walls of that theme, even when life and leadership were showing up in new topics and new ways that I was so excited to bring forth to all of you. So I'm not locking myself in or you in to any other theme right now. So what's coming next on the Leader's Mic is going to be a bit more fluid, more responsive, more aligned with what you're asking for and what you're experiencing and what leaders are navigating in real time. This means episodes will continue to cover topics on being a new leader, handling work transition, setting boundaries, leading with AI, building confidence, resetting your leadership identity, and whatever else you tell me you need. Because leadership doesn't happen in neatly packaged seasons as much as I would like for them to. It happens in real moments, on real days, in real life. And I want this podcast to reflect that. Here's your mic'd up moment for reflection. Feedback is the classroom. Growth is the assignment. And life gives you the grace to complete it at your own pace. You are not behind. You are not late. You are simply becoming. Thank you so much for walking with me through this feedback season. Whether you listened to one episode or all the episodes, I hope that something landed right where you needed it. As we pivot into the next chapter, I want to hear from you. I really, really want to hear from you. What leadership topics do you want to explore next? What are you navigating? What's on your mind? What do you need clarity or encouragement around? Send me a DM, drop a comment, tag me on LinkedIn or on Instagram at The Leader's Mic. Your voice is going to shape what comes next. Until then, keep learning, keep growing, and keep leading. This is The Leader's Mic, where bold voices shape better leadership.